tuning in to the Embodied Astrology podcast. I'm Renee Sills. I'm a consulting astrologer, embodiment educator, and the creator of Embodied Astrology. Embodied Astrology is much more than these horoscopes in our podcast. It's actually a movement that is full of people who are interested in the ways that astrology can help us more deeply embody our earthly and universal intelligence at this time. We offer ongoing classes, workshops, trainings, and community process spaces where we practice astrology as a language for living. We blend astrology with art, science, healing methodologies, and activist strategies. We hold space for ourselves and each other to expand and explore symbolism, mythology, and meaning, to queer, unpack, and evolve this ancient technology in service of our present needs and future potentials. If this sounds like something you've been looking for, or if my readings resonate for you and you want to take them to the next level, I hope you'll join us sometime. Stick around after your horoscope and I'll tell you a bit more about what we offer, how we work, and why I think embodied astrology might be a great space for you too. If this work benefits you and you want to help me keep giving these monthly readings for free, or help us keep all of our offerings available with financial accessibility and sliding scale, please take a moment right now to like, follow, and subscribe to our channels. This season's horoscopes are intuitive offerings for each sign of the zodiac. May they serve and support you in some way. Listen for your sun, moon, and rising signs. Remember that not everything is for everyone. Take what works, leave the rest, and make the meaning that's most meaningful for you. Thanks so much for being here. Now, onto your horoscope. Hello, Scorpio. Welcome to your season. Happy birthday if it's your birthday. Happy new beginning for all of your Scorpio placements. If you are Scorpio rising or Scorpio moon, this is also a season that initiates a new cycle of growth for you. Welcome. Scorpio as an energy is a lot of things, of course, and in its nature of being a lot of things, it is an energy that speaks to the ways that a lot of things combine, and in their combinations have to go through some kind of alchemical transformation. Alchemy is magic, alchemy is science, and alchemy is also kismet and mystery. It is a code of some kind that many ancestors for many generations across many wisdom paths have worked with. And alchemy doesn't only happen in the elemental forms, thinking about, creating one substance from another. It also happens energetically. And the energetic or psychological or spiritual alchemy that Scorpio as a sign is a symbol of is very important for you as a Scorpio identified being. And because Scorpio shows up in your solar chart in the first place, in the place of identity, your capacity as a body, mind, being, heart, spirit, having a corporeal experience here on earth, is really here to learn something about energetic alchemy, personal alchemy, and the alchemy of transformation. This Scorpio season in particular is bringing a lot of deep, potent, and important lessons about what your basic components, or one of your primary basic components, if one of your big three is Scorpio, is inviting you into. Invitation isn't even the right word because you're already here. You already took the invitation when you were born. And this lifetime is about some kind of process or working with alchemy, with transformation. And transformation as a buzzword in today's zeitgeist of collective consciousness, where certain terms in psychology or energy work have become very trendy, can sometimes imply that it's like all butterflies out of caterpillars, right? Like transformation, we've transformed. And the word itself doesn't always do justice to the actual process of transformation. The process of transformation, of things combining and turning into one another, is sometimes a brutal process. Sometimes one element has to burn out another one so that what is left and refined is a particular substance that is potentially more dense or more etheric or more gaseous or something like that. And when we're working alchemy of transformation, we are always working with death energy. And there is no binary, of course, you know this, between death and life. They are part of the same stuff. One will not exist without the other. But in our current society, at least dominant culture, we are living in a world that is, on the one hand, both completely obsessed and entertained by death, particularly unnecessary death and death by violence and ignorance and arrogance and all of those things, but also totally terrified of death and unwilling to really be with the opportunities of death, to let go of our egos, to put down our grievances, to feel the ways that we are more than our bodies and even our minds, that we are part of ephemeral limitlessness and universal consciousness. And that all, again, sounds really lovely to transform into universal consciousness, but the breakdown of ego is a gnarly experience. So as Scorpio season comes in, there are invitations for all of us, not just Scorpio identified folks, but for everyone where Scorpio is moving in our charts, to really turn towards what's gnarly, to do the work of digging into our egos, our limitations, what keeps us stuck and in fixed states, instead of transforming. And I'll say that transformation is the substance of life. We are part of Earth. Earth is always evolving. Our spirits, our souls, our consciousnesses are here to grow and evolve and transform. But our egos and our conscious minds get real stuck on ideas about who we are and how things should be, and we want to fix and control and know for certain, and we have a lot of attachment to things that we conceive of like stability that are just simply figments of imagination when it comes to the kind of larger scope that astrology can offer. So Scorpio season is really bringing a lot of emphasis for Scorpio identified people into your bodies, your identities, your sense of self. And you are changing, my friends. You are part of this evolutionary current and flow of life. And in this season, you are the anchor or the guidance for how life wants to transform over the course of this season. Now, you're learning some important lessons right now about who you want to be in the world and who you are in the world. Over the last month or couple of months, there has been a lot of growth, I think, for many of you. You are feeling a path opening up in front of you. I think a lot of you, even if the path might be treacherous and dangerous and unknown, actually feel a lot of hope. There is a sense of really being able to tune into your deepest source of motivation right now, being led and guided by your heart and your intuition, and what feels very much like the part of you that is also connected to the everything. And so you are on this path, this growth trajectory, where something is compelling you that I'm going to say is about you, but it's not just about you. It's about the ways that you can be here in the world in service to all of our growth, all of the growth of the world across lifetimes, across spans of time. Maybe there might be feelings of particular groups of people or places or areas of your interest that you really feel compelled to and in service to. But there's also a sense right now that you are part of something bigger. Something bigger is moving through you as an individual. You as an individual are being propelled and compelled upon a path, and you are excited and exuberant, and there is a lot of energy for you here. Over the course of Scorpio season, this energy continues to grow. And I think that a lot of you are having bold, big, creative, expressive, exciting new ideas about how you want to see this path manifesting for you in the coming years and the near and the far future. Particularly around the new moon in your sign on November 1st, Scorpio new moon at 9 degrees of Scorpio. This is a period of time that feels So full of potential in a lot of ways, potential for, again, your growth, your alchemy, your transformation, your evolution. This is a period of time that is pushing you to express yourself and harness your expressive, creative, I'm going to say erotic, life-giving capacity in new and different ways. Again, in service to this path that you are feeling compelled towards. Now, I do want to offer to you that over the course of the next many months until kind of through the first quarter of next year, so definitely into the first couple of months of 2025, but even until March, April, May, I really want to suggest that whatever is emerging for you as your big ideas and feelings of, yes, this is the way, or your enthusiasm, or what you think is this path and what it's calling you towards, I want to suggest that you hold it all with an open palm right now. That as ideas and inspirations come in, write them down. Create a vision board or a list. Have a practice of cataloging what is emerging for you right now, and have a practice of noticing how what is emerging for you changes over time. If possible, you want to treat this time as research and development, as experimentation of some kind. Some of you might feel very certain, especially as we get into November, of how you want to be moving forward. There may be particular projects that some of you are working on, or there may be circumstances with significant people in your life. I'm going to say definitely for those of you who are parents or have important relationships with folks who are younger than you. I'm also going to say creative collaborations and romantic kinds of interests. Things that you might be working on that are passion projects or something like that. All of those areas of life, they're in a really sensitive kind of place right now. And they don't need a formalized plan. They don't need insistence upon what is going to happen or what this will look like in the outcome or the goal. What they need is presence. They need curiosity, and they need a kind of subtle attunement with their own beingness. So if you are a parent, or if you are a person who's working on a project, your child or your project, we're going to say for sure you know this with your kid, but sometimes we forget about this with our projects, right? Or things that we're trying to work on with other people. Anything that is trying to make its own form has its own life force. It has its own needs. It has its own desires. And right now, whether what is growing and wanting to be alchemized and moved and expressed in new ways, whether that is a person, place, project, or something else, it needs you to be asking questions, listening, getting really curious, sensitive, and attuned, at least through the first couple of months of 2025. And this doesn't mean you can't move forward with certain things, but it does mean that regardless of how you will move forward, because you will, you're also going to be moving back. And there are going to be some important periods of review coming up for you, particularly at the end of the year, moving into next year, that have so much to do with your path forward. This definitely includes questions about career. This also includes big existential ideas about who you are in the world and who you want to be, what you're bringing forth through this incarnation. This also includes the future growth of important projects and relationships. So in Scorpio season, just know that there are going to be some feelings coming up, particularly around the beginning of November. I'm going to say the first 2 weeks or so of November, where you're probably feeling pretty energized. You're excited. There may even be some anxiety or urgency to get something out the door, like to finish it, to move it forward. And this is where you have to chill. You have to chill and pay attention to are there any little rubs of things that are not quite right. And when you find those places, you don't need to be scared of them. You do need to bring them into your consciousness, and you do need to bring them onto the table with anybody who you might be working with, so that there can be mindfulness and process in the ways that you move forward. Now, this is really important for you right now because a lot of you are trying to cultivate new experiences in your relationships. And over the last several years, this focus, I think, has been primarily directed towards particular individuals. And some of you may have had a lot of emphasis in thinking about your one-on-one relationships. This can include partnerships, both romantic and platonic partnerships. This can definitely include business arrangements. This also includes just how you feel as a human being in relationship with other human beings, and kind of your internal self-concept of what you get to bring into relationships and what you get to receive and what's happening there in those places of meeting and exchange. But through the rest of this year, and certainly moving into the future, the foreseeable future, your focus is actually shifting. You are becoming less concerned with your one-on-one relationships and more concerned with the group. You are more oriented now to the collective. Now, for some of you, this definitely can be families, and how you define family is up to you. My personal definition of family definitely can include my biological family, but more expansively, it really includes my soul family. That's actually where I feel most anchored with that word of family. And so when I say the collective, or when I say groups, I'm talking about your experience in this lifetime, in this body mind that you're incarnated in, getting to feel that you have a place to land, that there is home for you, and that belonging is a path and it is a journey. And what you have been through over the last many years of upheavals and disruptions and awakenings and liberations in your one-on-one relationships now wants to help turn up the soil of your foundation and foundational experiences, and help you arrive in a realization in your life that is bigger actually than you. It's bigger than your partners. It's bigger than your immediate nuclear family, if that's a thing that you experience. It is about being part of collective energy, communal energy. And when I started the reading and I was like, alchemy and transformation is gnarly. And the gnarly parts of alchemy and transformation are where different elements rub against each other, where they corrode one another and break things down and catalyze and transform each other. So the work of building community is alchemical, evolutionary work, and it is fucking gnarly, especially at this time on Earth when all of us, really, as individuals, have experienced profound displacement in our lineages, in our bodies, in our body minds. All of us, in many ways, are struggling to know where and how we belong. And in that struggle, there's a lot of survival mechanisms that are at play. We are coping, we are addicted, we are dizzying ourselves with all the strategies that we can find to make ourselves feel safe and, like we're okay. And when we meet one another as partners, as groups, as families, all of these coping mechanisms and strategies and insecurities collide. And in those collisions, we get to reflect to one another. We get to bring up each other's trauma. We get to help each other alchemize and transform through trauma, through drama, through reflection. And ideally, we can awaken together. And in awakening together as individuals, ideally, we are able to take profound responsibility for our own beingnesses and contribute to something larger than all of us, which is a communal or collective well-being. Human beings need each other to survive. And again, ideally, we could work brilliantly and effectively to share what we have, to collaborate, to, bring our intelligences together, and we could make amazing things. And I think, Scorpio, that y'all are on this tip and this is what you want. And it's not easy. It's a bumpy road. And on this path, there are going to be so many joys, so many sorrows, so many places of what the fuck, and so many opportunities for you to drop and dissolve these layers of stuckness and attachment and ego that get in the way also of not just your transformation and alchemical evolution, but also of the collective transformation and alchemical evolution. This is a really strong theme and vibration, particularly around the full moon on November 15th and moving forwards into Sagittarius season. And I'm going to get to this next month in Sagittarius season, but I do want to give you a little preview into the future. And this isn't so different from what I've been saying already, but I'll say it in a slightly different way. From now through the end of the year, you want to move slowly, carefully, with intentionality, and with awareness that what is moving forward now might need to have some review or be moved back on. There may be things that you just aren't seeing right now. You don't have the information, you don't have the capacity. You might be moving too fast. You might be distracted. Your ego might be in the way. Over the next couple of months, there will be reasons for you to return to what is happening right now. So my big piece of advice for you is to move in ways that are listening really deeply to your own intuition, noticing where there are rubs, particularly in relationships, and that includes relationship with yourself and your many parts. Where there are rubs, where there is any feeling of hastiness, urgency, or anxiety to get something done, those are your cues to sit still. When you move with hastiness in Scorpio season, the results are not good. And there may be reasons for you to feel hasty and for you to feel urgent. And if that is the case, and I know that there are a lot of reasons in the world right now, if that is the case, please check your own anxiety and urgency. Notice what happens in your body mind because of that. Notice how you might get fixed and gripped and small-sighted in certain ways because you're so focused on whatever the problem area is or what you perceive it to be. Try and give yourself 24 to 48 hours to draw a circle around that problem area and then expand beyond it. I do an exercise with my eyes a lot where I focus on one point. I try and see all the details in one tiny, tiny little point. And then I expand into the space around that point. And then I expand into the big, broad perspective where I'm including everything from my peripheral vision and my eyes are really just receiving. And then I go back and forth between the focus and the expansion. And that exercise is very helpful for regulating the parts of our brains that get stuck in fight or flight and survival mode when those parts of our consciousness get triggered. And when those parts of our consciousness get triggered, our vision tends to either narrow and become really obsessive and fixed, or it tends to get blown out and we might be totally overwhelmed and distracted. To be able to move back and forth between the two of them builds strength and fortitude in our psychology and our energy bodies. It builds capacity to actually be really present with details as we're also attuned with the larger picture, and also to let go of the details and be in the larger as we're also anchored and oriented intentionally. So this kind of practice would be very helpful, I think, for you in the things that you're working on over not just Scorpio season, but really through the end of the year and into next year. I want to say that those of you that are in a kind of like survival mode right now, if you're thinking about how do you get on this path that you're on, like how do you sustain it? How do you make it work for you? How do you survive here? Whew, big breath, big breaths. Let's just hold the enormity of those questions. They're intense questions. They bring up all kinds of worry, all kinds of, opportunities to get really myopic or blown out. There are people, there are relationships, there are places of exchange that are actually here to help you right now. They may not be helping you in the ways that you think that you want them to. Alchemy requires some letting go of the ego fixations. Be open to what others are bringing, what they're offering. Don't be so focused on what you think that you need in order to be on your path that you miss an opportunity that someone is bringing to you, or that some being is putting in your path. It might sometimes feel like a deviation. It might sometimes feel like an unknown risk. You want to be in an attitude of experimentation right now. There's not just points A and point Z. There's the whole alphabet in between. There's not just a binary of option 1 or option 2. There's a whole spectrum in between. It is not easy for you right now, all the time, to trust that this momentum is going to actually support you and move you forward. And that is part of the alchemy. Scorpio is here to learn to alchemize fear and mistrust and inhibitions and the ways that you wall off and block off and maybe experience envy or jealousy or resentment or hard emotions about X, Y, and Z. Those are substances that are ready to be alchemized and transformed right now. Trust the path. The path is opening before you. The path continues to open for you when you really deeply listen to your intuition and pay attention to where life is asking you to slow down and to do things in a way that allow you to move back and forth between times. To do something now that has an expectation of coming back to it later. To do something that sets you up for later with the expectation that you're going to be refining it until you get there. Okay, Scorpio, I hope any or all of that is helpful. If it is, please stick around for a few minutes while I tell you about some more astrology and what Embodied Astrology is offering that could also be helpful in this season and beyond. Thanks for listening to your Scorpio season reading. If this horoscope resonated for you, please show your support by liking, following, and subscribing, and by sharing our work with your friends and community. These are the #1 ways to support this work and help us grow. If this work benefits you, I also hope you'll consider working more deeply with us at Embodied Astrology. Because we time our classes, workshops, and events with current transits, we're always offering to the present moment, and we are usually right on time. Every month and throughout the seasons, we engage the creative, experimental, and experiential aspects of current astrology. And our work is always given with an ethos of generosity and accessibility. Our classes, workshops, and series are available with scholarships and by sliding scale, and no one is turned away for lack of funds. We do rely on your support and presence to keep us going, though. Please help sustain and support our work by making a one-time or recurring donation, or becoming a member, or sign up for one of our current or upcoming offerings. This season, I hope you'll join me for Somatic Space, which is a class I offer every Monday where we prepare ourselves to work with the astrology of the week ahead through gentle healing body practices, breathwork, meditation, and visualization. You can drop in once to try it out, or if you become a member, you'll also get access to the past classes video archive and Tea Time, which is a monthly conversation space where we learn and share how astrology is moving through our lives. Both Tea Time and Somatic Space are great ways to get to know me a bit better and for me to get to know you. Our conversations and practices are always rich, vast, and heartfelt, and the connections and community that build in these spaces is so deeply nourishing and incredibly special. In early December of this year, Mars will station retrograde in Leo. Over the course of the following 3 months until next February, Mars will retrocess or retrograde from Leo to Cancer, where it stations direct at the end of next February. Between now and December, the retrograde influence of Mars is increasing as we move through what's called a shadow period. This is when a planet is traveling direct over a zodiacal degree range that will be imminently revisited by its upcoming retrograde. When Mars is retrograde, especially in the signs of Leo and Cancer, we all need to work with our basic instincts and impulses more attentively. These are times when small misunderstandings can escalate quickly into large conflicts, and when anger, aggression, and desires that are unconscious or unprocessed in our individual and collective experiences can surface suddenly and sometimes quite dramatically. These are also times when we can grow immensely and develop our individual and collective strengths, courage, capacities, and what I think of as our deep spiritual will. Ultimately, this is a transit that wants to help us use our power with more consciousness and also up-level our emotional and energetic awareness, especially around areas of conflict, impact, and intent. Sorting through the stuff of conflict is messy work. No matter what the conflict is, there is always more than what's visible on the surface. Since our personal and interpersonal experiences can't get separated from the institutional, environmental, and ideological, it can be profoundly overwhelming and hard to move towards conflict transformation when most of our issues are totally complex and entangled on multiple levels. In order to prepare for this transit, our faculty member, Ramon Parrish, is offering a 3-week series, November 7th through 21st, called Constellations of Conflict. In this series, we'll do the work of investigating the intersections of conflict as they emerge in our individual bodies, interrelationships, shared spaces, and the larger world. Through the lens of astrology, we'll use our natal placements, synastry, and transit timing as guides. We'll explore how current astrology and this Mars retrograde can help us navigate, engage, and skillfully meet this time of profound conflict and transformation here on Earth. This Scorpio season features a grand trine between the Sun in Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. This season, more than most, is a time of deep water and intense feelings. In astro speak, water always asks us to move down and inwards, and to get in touch with our emotional bodies and internal experiences. Working with the wisdom of water also assists in working effectively with Earth. When we can craft and create containers that hold space for feelings to be as they are, we'll naturally find our way into flow, and what we don't need we can let go in ways that nourish, cleanse, hydrate, and sustain. Over the weekend of November 9th and 10th, Embodied Astrology facilitators Gabs 404 and Junata Petrus will hold 2 watery, earthy sessions to make space for the following week's Taurus full moon. In November 9th's Nebula Lab, Gabs will be joined by Dani D'Emilia, a non-binary, eco-trans feminist artist and educator whose work with radical tenderness and hospicing modernity invites intimacy into the layers of life right now. This is an opportunity to be with the immensity of the moment, get grounded in our bodies, politicized in our healing practices, and held in our humanity by the larger cosmic web of inseparability. The following day, November 10th, Junata Petrus returns for the Taurus full moon edition of her monthly Artistic Alchemy series. In these classes, we orient with a full moon axis in our charts in order to reflect on our creative devotions and the realities of surviving in a capitalistic world that is filled with uncertainty and possibility. We practice staying grounded with the rhythms of astrology and spirit, channeling the wisdom of cosmic alignment, and opening to celestial guidance from our ancestors as support for living creatively through times of unknown. Following Junata's artistic alchemical opening, Sherry Taylor and I will co-lead a special council session the following weekend on Saturday, November 17th, which is the day after the full moon, where we'll focus specifically on astrology and ancestral attunement through working with the symbolism of Saturn. Sherry has been faculty at Embodied Astrology for over 2 years now, where her work in deepening and expanding Saturn's mythic and archetypal symbolism has yielded a powerful path of devotional practice. Our co-led session initiates a new cycle of Saturnian devotion which Sherry will lead through 2 subsequent sessions, culminating on the December solstice. You can find more information about everything and everyone I just mentioned in the show notes or through the study section at embodiedastrology.com. If you can't make our live events, but you still want to participate, your registration will always include recording access. I certainly hope to see you soon over Scorpio season in one of our spaces. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for listening and engaging. I'm wishing you all the best in this season and beyond. Bye for now.